Hi, Dr. Lowe. This is my second part of the project, the low tech, no tech device. My client's name is Brandon. He's in the 7th grade. He has high functioning autism and he has also severe verbal apraxia. The communication book that I created for Brandon, I used a binder. To decorate the binder, I used some of the stuff that interests Brandon, and I thought this could be a good way to personalize his binder and also keep him motivated in using the binder. So I included such as like reptile, soccer. He started playing the piano. He likes art, math, and he is active in the garden of his school. Once you open the communication book, I included some tips for his communication partners, such as his teacher and his teacher aide, just to help them know how to use the communication book. And I got this information from speechandlanguagekids.com. It's a speech language pathologist website, and here are some quick tips, and I will read them to you. It says, model the AAC aid use around the child. For example, by pointing to the pictures when you're trying to communicate with the child. Encourage the child when he attempts to use it and provide differential reinforcers. Reinforce accidental speech acts. This will help the child realize the power of communication and will help increase interactions. Have the AAC system present at all times to give the child the opportunity to communicate. Set up the opportunity for the child to use the AAC system in different settings, such as the classroom or at home. Ask questions to the child, make the child request or comment, and engage in conversations, such as asking the child, "How was your day?" Give the child the opportunity to process the information and respond. The first page of my communication book is an introduction page, and I didn't include too much because I also have an all about me page. So in here, I included something about Brandon, such as like, my name is Brandon, I'm in the 7th grade, I attend middle school, I use this communication book to communicate with others, I have difficulty following conversations when more than 2 people are involved, I do not like loud noises, please give me some time to give my message when I am using this book. If found, please call, and I provided a phone number and an address of where the book can be returned. I use an icon sheet, a modified Fitzgerald key, and I used it because it's very similar, the way that is set up, very similar to the way that reading is done. So since Brandon already has the skill, since he's able to read on the 5th grade level, I thought it would be it would be easier for him to use this book based on the way that it's organized. So yellow are people and pronouns, miscellaneous are white. Descriptions are blue, places are hot pink, nouns and things are orange, WH words such as like questions, what, where, when, and why are purple, and social such as like greetings and manners and social like phrases that include social interactions are pink. And then I included a tab key, so I created tabs so Brandon could find the page very easily. And as you can see, I only wrote out the name of the page because since he can read, he could already find it very easily. So I included an all about me page, and the way that I set up the book is based on like the way that he mostly will use it throughout, like the way the vocabulary is used throughout the day. So as you can see, first will be the all about me page, a way to introduce himself, such as like, I like the art, I like piano, I play soccer, I like reptiles, my birthday is in June, my name is Brandon. This page also gives him a way to communicate with others and engage in social interactions. Right here at the bottom, I have phrases on each page, phrases that he could quickly say to based on the environment that he's in, such as like, what is your name, what do you like, and I do not like loud sounds. I also included a emotion page right here. So this emotion page is very important for Brandon because he needs to be able to explain when he feels frustrated or when he's starting to feel confused or bored. And this could help decrease some of his the yelling behavior that is occurring in the classroom. So if he's starting to feel frustrated, he could say, I feel frustrated. I need, and then it has like a calm down menu of the things that he's using to calm himself down, such as like the gum, the CD player, the lotion. Or if he's bored, he could say, I feel bored, I need a new activity. At the bottom, I also included a calm down strip, so it kind of tells Brandon the steps that he should do to calm himself down. So if he sees the calm down strip, he could say no, or take a deep breath, make a choice, return to work. If he's ready, he could say yes. If he's not ready, he could say no. Once he sees this, he could say stop, I need to stop, and he could follow the calm down strip throughout. Then as the day continues, he could also, like initially I put the dress board, and this is what he could use to communicate in the morning with his parents, such as like, usually we teach the kids with autism want and need, but I also put like other vocabulary such as like pass the red shirt or pass me the black shorts. And then I also put phrases that he could use in that situation, such as like, how does this look? Or what's the weather, if he's trying to determine what to wear. Or he could create a new phrase such as like, where are the blue shoes? And once again, in every communication page that I created for this book, I have an easy yes and no, so he could respond very quickly. I also want to add that all the communication pages that I created, I used a thick border and some space in between. This way, Brandon, because he has like fine motor difficulties, it could help him make like a better target in the icon that he wants to select. So if there's a space in between and in the border, he could say that these two things are separate. I also created a home board, and some French words related to that environment, such as like piano or TV or to go outside. So he could ask his mom, I need to rest, or mom, look at the TV. Or he could say, let's say if he's playing the piano, he could say, how does this sound? Or I need to be alone, if he wants to be alone. He could just say, I need to be alone. I also created a mealtime board that he could use at home in the dinner table. So instead of, he could say, Mom, pass the chicken. Or like if his cousin is in town, he could say, hey, pass the rice. And he could negate and say, I don't like it. Or he could say, I am full. He could also engage in other conversations, such as like if his mom asks him, oh, how was your day? He could say, oh, today was not a good day. Brandon has a hard time adapting to changes in his environment, so I created a school schedule so he could know what to follow. So his mom could say, like, on Monday, today is Monday, this is your school schedule. Or he himself could write it, today is Monday, even though writing is not his strongest skill, but he could write it and help him, help promote his independence. And let's say on Tuesday, he follows a different schedule, so things are detachable, and he could just remove the visual and put like a new visual there, or change the visuals around. Or let's say his mom could just write out the new activity that's going to happen because Brandon could read. As you can see, a lot of the communication pages that I have, they do have symbols, but I also created a lot of just phrases and icons that just had the printed word on it, because I wanted to create some in the middle kind of communication book for Brandon, because I didn't want him to think, oh, it's so boring, but I didn't want him to think it was so difficult. And since he does have that reading ability, I wanted to make sure that I included some printed words. So this is a visual scene of the cafeteria. According to the authors of the book that we're using for the class, it says the visual scenes help promote communications and conversations in children with autism. So here in the visual scene that I created, he could use it to request, but also engage in conversations. So he could say to the cafeteria lady, let me get some fries, chicken, and juice, thank you. But he could also tell to his friends, like, do you want to trade? Like if he wants to trade the food, or he could comment on his friend's food, like this food looks really good. Or he could tell his friend, like, I'll meet you at the garden later. I also created a class tab and a communication page for class. And in here, in the top, I included some visual reminders. So he could be able to be more an effective participant in the classroom, because he has a hard time participating in small groups. So if he has this board, when he's in a small group, it could remind him of what he should be doing, such as like raise your hand, take turns speaking, quiet when others are speaking. And I give some quick phrases again that are related to his environment, such as like give it back. Like he gets frustrated when people take the small things that he collects, so he could say give it back. And then that could also help prevent some of that frustration and the yelling behavior that he demonstrates. Some of the things that he could say when he's in class, it's like, teacher, I got the answer. Or teacher, teacher, help. Or he could say things such as like, teacher, I forgot the homework. If his teacher asks him a question, as like, where's the book? He could say, in the backpack. And I also created other stuff that are related to the vocabulary that you could use in the classroom, such as like big, little, same, less than, messy. And again, yes and no, quick and easy access. And since these icons are so separated from each other, I create the thickness on them are a little bit less than the ones over here. And then this one is like an empty one, just in case if he's ever like in class and a new vocabulary word comes up, they can easily just write it in there for Brandon. I created a math page for Brandon. He likes math, so I wanted him to stay active and participate in the class, so he could say the answer is 100. And if they ask him, how do you come up with that? He could say, I add 50 plus 50. And I also included some vocabulary related to math, so he could be able to participate. I also created an art board. So here in the art board, he could say things such as like, I want the red paint. So French words as well that are related to math. And he could say, this is too hard. I need a break. Oh no, I made a mess. And once again, yes and no on the top. Easy for him to respond. Here for the conversation board that I created some quick phrases that he could say to initiate a conversation, but also ways he could reply to them. So for example, like he could say, hey, what's up? If he sees his friend in the hallway, or when he enters the classroom, or let's say, how was class? And his friend says, the class is good. I have a test coming up. He could say, oh, good luck. If his friend asks him, like, what do you like? He could say, I like reptiles. Now, I know that I have an All About Me board, but here in the conversation board, he could go more in depth, such as like, I like reptiles because they're interesting. And then he could go back and say, but what do you like? And if his friend is going too fast, he could say, I do not understand. give me a minute if he's having a hard time processing the information. Or he could say to his friend, please slow down. Or this is too loud. Once again, most of the time when we're having conversations is in loud places. So he could say, this is too loud. I created a garden board. In the garden board, he could use it when he is communicating with his peers in the classroom, in the garden. So he could, once again, easy yes and no. He could tell his friend, like, I need the hose. Or he could say, you dig the soil. He could comment about the weather, such as like it's cloudy, it's going to rain. And then let's say he finished planting. He could say, I hope they grow. Or he comes back the next day after planting some flowers. He could say, wow, they're so beautiful. And he could say to his friend, take a look. Another visual scene that I created for Brandon was a camping scene. So he is involved in Cub Scouts, and this camping scene, he could use it to engage in conversations in the setting itself with his peers, but also like when he comes back at home and his parents ask him like, oh, how was camping? He could say, oh, I sang campfire songs, or he could say, I went canoeing. But let's say he's involved in the conversation, he could tell his friend like, let's go fishing, or like, what do you have there? Or that was fun. And here I didn't want to just limit him to the phrases that I put it up there, but I also included other French vocabulary that are related to Cub Scouts. So he could tell his friend like, oh, be careful, or what are we doing next, or where is my badge? And if he is too tired, he could say, I need a break. Or if he really wants to go on a field trip, he could say, let's go on a field trip. Or where is the Cup Master? I also created a games and sports board. So, for example, I know I created a conversation board, but he is very involved and he does have friends. So let's say they're playing a game. This board gives him an opportunity to communicate in those situations where he is playing games with his friends, besides just the conversation board. So it could say, stop cheating if they're playing a board game. Or he could say, like, I won. Or pass the green game piece. And let's say if he's sitting on the bleachers since he plays soccer, he could use this board and say how frustrating if his team is losing, or what is the score. So Tobii Dynavox and any other AAC device includes core vocabulary to create novel messages. So I wanted to make sure that Brandon had the opportunity to create novel messages with his communication book. So I included some core vocabulary and then some tabs here that include places, people, descriptions, and action words. So, so he could use different words that are not found in the other pages, such as like the store or the zoo or the soccer field. And then let's say if that the words are still not found within those tabs, Brandon has the opportunity to use this ABC and number chart. He could either start using he could start pointing to the words to create it, to the letters to create a new message, or he could just use the dry erase marker to put the message together, such as like A, P, P, and then he could look for L and then E and say, oh, apple, because that's not a word that I have put in the communication book. And he could also put do you understand, to make sure that his communication partner is understanding what he's saying. I also have included a task strip, since he needs to know what is going on in the activity. So let's say he goes to class, his teacher could say, Brandon, today in class we're going to read, we're going to write, we're going to discuss. So this way he always knows what's upcoming in the activity, and it decreases some of that frustration and the yelling behavior that is being exposed. Once he's done with the activity, he could either turn it around and say, okay, I'm all done, what's next? or he could just use the dry erase marker and cross it out. And since these are detachable, let's say if he goes to math, the math teacher could also like write down like what we're going to do. And since he could read, there's no need for the actual visual representation. He could just actually write it. In this other section right here, I included a first den board. So let's say Brandon is having a hard time in class. He could simply just say like, okay, look, first we have to work, then you could take a break. Or first we're going to do art, then take a break. Once again, he could read, so the communication partner could just write down what is expected of him. I also included a schedule for the morning routines. This is important just in case, like, let's say he's not going to go to school, but he's going to go to the doctor's. So his mom could just say, like, okay, today we're not going to school. You're going to go to the doctor, and include a visual there. And then the same thing for an after school. So let's say on Tuesday he doesn't have soccer. So his mom could just say, oh, today you don't have soccer, but you do have Cub Scouts. And I included 2 empty ones just in case, like, for example, let's say they're going to go visit a family member. His parents could just write it there. So he already knows what is expected of him throughout the day. Here I included a social story for him to read. And this social story is something that he could read every day. And it tells him, like, when I am frustrated. Social story as to what to do when he feels frustrated. And now lastly, the Toby Dino box included some quick phrases that he could have access to. So let's say the phrases that I included in all the little on the communication pages, he needs to say a different phrase. Well, guess what? Right here, he has access to that, such as like personal phrases. Phrases like, wait a minute, explain it again, or I want to eat, or I am not ready. And some greeting phrases such as like, what's up? Let's hang out again. So I also included vocabulary that is closely related to his age. So this way he could feel like he could communicate with his peers using this book. And then I also included some fast words such as like, no way, you're welcome, thank you, help me, I am finished, excuse me. And another thing that I wanted to add is that I also included some picture cards some communication cards that could just be easily stored in the binder, in the pocket binder. So let's say Brandon is going to gym or an area where he does not want to take his communication book, he could just easily put them here. And some of the stuff that's said here, he could just use it in different environments, such as like an introduction card that says, my name is Brandon, I use these visuals to communicate. And then it has like, hello, how are you? Or I do not understand. Or this is fun. Just some quick phrases that he could use in different settings. So he could easily just store it in the pocket of his book, and let's say he's in class in the school, he could just leave the book in his locker and then just take his cards with him. Another thing that I wanted to add is that he could, let's say he wants to use just the sheet of the cafeteria and leave his book closed, he could just easily put the sheet that he wants to use and put it in the front of the book. So like this. And he could just leave the book closed instead of standing it up. Additionally, since he's very clumsy, I also thought of adding a strap to his binder. This way he could carry it with him at all times, leaving him hands-free. So I will show you very quickly of the different ways that Brandon could carry his communication book, besides holding it on his hands. So this strap gives Brandon the opportunity to just carry it like this without using his hands, or he could even put it around his neck and walk around. Thank you so much, Dr. Lowe. This is my communication book for my client, Brandon.